Will Smith reveals why he can't leave Jada. It's deeper than you think. People always ask the same question. If it's that hard, why doesn't he just leave? On social media, it looks simple. There are jokes, memes, comments from strangers who feel like they understand everything about a relationship they've never lived inside. From the outside, it seems like an easy decision. Stay or walk away. Fight or move on. But real life is rarely that simple. Sometimes, a person doesn't stay because they are weak. Sometimes they stay because leaving would mean losing a part of themselves. To the world, Will Smith is confidence. He's success. He's the man who always smiles, always performs, always stands tall. For decades, he built an image of strength, the kind of man who seems untouchable, the kind of man who always wins. But behind every public image, there is a private reality. What people don't see is that relationships are not contracts you cancel when things get difficult. They are stories written over years, shared memories, shared struggles, shared growth. And when you've built a life with someone for that long, walking away doesn't just mean leaving a person. It means leaving history. It means questioning who you are without them. When people say, "Why can't he just move on?" they assume the issue is love. But sometimes it's not just about love. Sometimes it's about fear. Sometimes it's about promises made during moments when walking away was never even an option. The truth is, the deeper reason someone stays isn't always visible. It isn't dramatic. It isn't loud. It's quiet. It lives inside the mind, inside the heart, inside the parts of a person that the public never gets to see. And that's where the story really begins. Because what keeps a man from leaving isn't always the person standing in front of him. Sometimes it's the version of himself he's afraid to lose. For most of his life, Will Smith has lived in front of the world. He built a career on charisma, confidence, energy. From blockbuster movies to award stages, he became a symbol of success. The kind of success people dream about. Fame, money, respect. When people look at him, they don't just see a man. They see a brand, a legacy, a powerful presence. And for years, he mastered that image. He learned how to smile even when he was tired. How to stay composed when the pressure was heavy. How to protect his reputation no matter what was happening behind closed doors. Because when you become that famous, the world stops seeing you as human. They see you as a character in a story they think they understand. But public strength and private feelings are two different things. When the lights go off and the interviews end, there is no audience, no applause, no script, just silence. And in that silence, a person has to sit with their real thoughts, their doubts, their fears. The world may see a confident man, but confidence does not cancel insecurity. The world may see a strong husband, but strength does not remove emotional attachment. In public, everything looks controlled, balanced, solid. But inside a long-term relationship, emotions are not always that clean. There are arguments no one hears, conversations no one records, moments of vulnerability that never reach headlines. Over time, the pressure of being perfect in public can make private struggles feel even heavier. Because admitting that something is wrong doesn't just affect a relationship, it affects the image, the brand, the story that millions of people believe. And when your identity is connected to being strong, successful, and stable, walking away from a relationship can feel like admitting failure, not just to the world, but to yourself. Sometimes staying is not about happiness. Sometimes it's about protecting everything you built. But the deeper truth is this: when someone becomes part of your public journey, they also become part of your personal foundation. And removing that foundation can feel like everything might collapse. To understand why someone can't walk away, you have to go back to the beginning, before the headlines, before the pressure, before the world had opinions. In the early days, their connection felt different. It wasn't built on fame or status. It was built on understanding. At a time when his career was growing fast and the spotlight was getting brighter, he needed someone who could see him beyond the success. Someone who wasn't impressed by the image, but connected with the person. And she did. She challenged him. She questioned him. She didn't treat him like a superstar. She treated him like a man who still had flaws, fears, and room to grow. For someone who had spent years building confidence in public, that kind of honesty felt rare. He wasn't just admired. He was seen. In the entertainment world, many relationships are built on convenience, on image, on shared events and appearances. But this felt deeper. It felt personal. She knew his insecurities, the pressure he felt to always win, the fear of not being enough, the quiet need for validation that he never openly admitted. And instead of running from that, she leaned in. That kind of emotional connection can become powerful. When someone understands your hidden fears, they don't just become your partner, they become your safe place. The one person you believe won't judge you when the world does. Every relationship has a moment where things quietly shift. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly. As the years passed, the fame grew bigger, the expectations grew heavier, success reached new levels. With every achievement came more pressure, more interviews, more public attention, more opinions from people who didn't know the full story. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, the dynamic between them began to change. In the beginning, they leaned on each other for support. But over time, support started turning into dependence. The world expected him to be strong all the time, to lead, to protect, to stay in control. But in private, he began needing reassurance more than he admitted. When you live under constant pressure, you look for stability at home. You look for one person who makes the chaos feel manageable. And if that stability feels uncertain, even slightly, fear begins to grow. Not loud fear, quiet fear, the kind that makes you overthink simple conversations, the kind that makes you question your value in someone's life. As both of them evolved as individuals, their differences became more visible. Growth doesn't always happen in the same direction. Sometimes one person changes in ways the other didn't expect, and when that happens, it can create emotional distance without either person planning it. He began to feel something he hadn't felt in years: insecurity. Not about his career, not about his success, but about his place in the relationship. For a man who built his life on winning, on achieving, on being admired, the idea of not being enough in his own marriage felt heavy. It triggered something deeper, something older. Maybe it connected to childhood memories, to moments when approval felt important, to times when he believed he had to perform to be loved. When those old feelings mix with present struggles, emotions become stronger than logic. And that's when attachment can become intense. Instead of asking, "Is this healthy?" the mind starts asking, "How do I fix this? How do I make it work?" Because walking away feels like failure. And failure was never part of his identity. So he held on tighter. Sometimes when a relationship feels unstable, people don't step back. They lean in harder. They try more. They sacrifice more. They stay longer than they should. Not because they are weak, but because they are determined. But determination in love can slowly turn into emotional attachment that feels impossible to break. By this point, it wasn't just about love. It was about proving something to himself, to her, maybe even to the world. And when pride, fear, love, and identity mix together, leaving no longer feels like a simple choice. It feels like losing a part of yourself. And that's when the real question becomes deeper than anyone outside can understand. Over the years, their lives became entwined in ways that go beyond affection or companionship. She isn't just his wife. She became a witness to his growth, his fears, his triumphs, and his failures. She saw him when the world didn't. She knew the moments when he felt invisible, unheard, or not enough. And because of that, leaving her doesn't feel like leaving a partner. It feels like leaving a part of himself behind. There are 3 invisible layers that make it almost impossible to walk away. Layer 1, identity. Over the years, he tied his sense of self to the relationship. Who he is as a man, as a husband, even as a father, started to exist in connection with her. Leaving would mean questioning that identity, as if erasing years of growth and shared experiences. Without her, he wonders, would he still recognize himself in the mirror? Would he still feel complete? Layer 2, promises and loyalty. It's not just the vows they exchange publicly. It's the unspoken promises made in private. The times she stayed when nobody else did. The times he promised himself he would never quit on her. Leaving would feel like betraying a history, a memory of loyalty he had invested so deeply. Layer 3, emotional bond that goes beyond love. Over time, love can evolve into a type of connection that feels almost like necessity. It's no longer only about romance. It's about stability, understanding, and shared history. It's knowing someone has been part of the person you are today and realizing that walking away might mean losing not just them, but the version of yourself they helped create. It's like an invisible contract, written not on paper, but inside the heart. It's quiet, unspoken, and unbreakable. And that's why leaving isn't as easy as it looks from the outside. People see arguments, gossip, and public controversies and think the decision should be obvious. But when emotional layers this deep exist, decisions aren't about right or wrong. They're about survival, belonging, and identity. So when the world asks, why doesn't he leave? The answer is not weakness, it's fear. Not fear of her, but fear of losing himself. fear of erasing a bond that has defined decades of his life. And sometimes, staying is less about love and more about holding together the parts of yourself that you can't imagine living without. Being in the public eye adds a pressure that most people can't even imagine. Every argument, every rumor, every private moment is magnified. For someone like him, every misstep becomes a headline. Every personal struggle becomes public commentary. And when the world is constantly watching, even small cracks in a relationship feel enormous. He smiles in interviews, he laughs at jokes online, he posts pictures of a happy family. The applause never stops. But behind that public image, there is a private weight few can see. There are nights spent alone, questioning whether staying means weakness, whether leaving means failure. There are moments when he feels exposed, criticized, misunderstood, and powerless. The internet has a way of simplifying complex emotions. Memes make fun of his struggles, talk shows debate his choices, people judge him as if a marriage is just a matter of choice and control. They say, why doesn't he just leave? But no one knows the quiet battles he fights every day, the ones that never make it to the cameras, the internal conversations where fear, loyalty, love, and pride clash in silence. And in those moments, he feels trapped between two worlds, the public persona everyone sees and the private man who feels deeply, fears failure, and carries the weight of years of shared history. To the outside world, he seems strong, unshakable, confident. But strength doesn't mean absence of doubt. Confidence doesn't erase loneliness. And being admired by millions doesn't erase the feeling of being misunderstood in your own home. Silent struggle is invisible, but it is exhausting. It chips away at joy in ways the public will never understand. Every criticism, every gossip, every joke reminds him that the world is watching, judging, and simplifying a story that is anything but simple. And yet, despite all of it, he continues. Not because he has no other options, but because leaving feels like losing a part of himself that he may never get back. It's a lonely kind of pressure, the kind that lives quietly behind the smiles, the interviews, and the public appearances. And that's why, no matter what the world says, leaving isn't a choice he can make lightly, because the struggle isn't just with the relationship, it's with the self he has built within it.